Well, there it is. One or two little blooms up there, but the blackberry flow is pretty much over. Right where I'm at. As you move towards the coast, it's still going on a little bit, but it's going to end fairly soon. So it's time to be thinking about the health of your colonies. They were doing great a week ago because all this stuff was coming in, and it's going to stop. And when it stops, they will too. So once they've put up the nectar and dried it to honey, they don't like to just start opening it up and eating on it. That's winter stores. They want to conserve it. So if there isn't any nectar coming in, and we get into a pollen dearth also, where there's not a lot of pollen coming in, the queen will reduce her laying or completely stop. That's not something we want. We don't want our hives to just survive. We want them to thrive. If you want them to thrive this time of year, they need to be busy. They need to be making bees. They need to be putting in more syrup, to the point that they plug their box. So you need to be aware, and you need to inspect, and you need to know what you're looking at. If they're not bringing things in, you need to feed them. A 1-to-1 syrup right now is great. It simulates the flow, keeps them brooding. A 2-to-1 is what you like later in the fall when you want them to store it and be able to dry it quicker. So especially on your small colonies or splits that you've done, recently, they don't have a lot of field force to go looking for stuff. So here I've got a small 5-framer that's growing up from a 3-framer. They're doing okay, but they could use more food. So I've put a feeder in. I've got some old bird netting I stuck in there so they can climb in and out. Gave them a little chunk of pollen just to see if they're eating it. If they don't need it, and they do have quite a bit of pollen in there, but if they're consuming it, it's because there's not as much coming in as there was, and it tells me that. So I'll give them a little dab. If they don't eat it, it's no big deal. But the ones that are consuming it, I can add more. So anyway, here in my home yard, it's all nurse wheat colonies that I'm nursing along. Small splits and old queens and things I'm working on. So they all need some feed. Now, I don't know where you're at, what you have going on. If you've got, a big field of clover blooming on the other side of the tree line, you may not need to feed, but you need to know whether you need to or not. So last year, same thing, and the blackberries, I came out to start feeding. Oh my God, they were bringing in nectar. Well, what's going on? Well, there was a big field of white clover blooming right across the creek. And they were hitting that and doing fine. So it saved me a bunch of hassle in feeding. This year they're slowing down, so they need help. I even have some smaller colonies that are on the buckwheat fields that I'm going to put some feed on. The other thing to start watching right now is your yellow jackets. We talked about trying to kill some of those. If you're not doing that, or you got too many, they're going to start robbing, and they're going to kill your weaker colonies. They will come in and take everything they've got, and then the bees will leave. So you need to reduce your entrances. Get in and take a look, people. You got to know what's happening in there. And get feed on them if you need it. Take care of them. Don't let them stop brooding in the middle of August. And then I get the call, I don't have a queen, I don't have a queen. Well, you do have a queen, she doesn't have any food. So, and I've seen it happen. I've had colonies do that. Go completely broodless in August because we were in a full dearth. So, if you want them to thrive, want them to get through winter, feed them. If they look like they're doing fine and they're filled up, you can always add another box and let them fill it with syrup. Fill those frames and dry them. Put them in the garage, put them in a freezer. Keep them for winter time. When they eat up all their food, you can add another box to them. You've got, capped syrup that they're ready to eat. So let them work. They want to work. If you don't keep them busy, they're going to do the same thing your kids do. You're going to get in trouble. So anyway, get the feed on them.